Welcome, people of light, life in the dark. Today, I wanted to talk about this debacle, this craziness, this nonsense. Ghanaian village elects a Chinese man to be their chief. But what we don't know is that this is a common practice for foreigners. Even many Americans have been made chiefs, and I want to say that this one American actress, Black American actress, she got honored as well. Um, Fairly recently, she was honored. Hold on. If you go over with any amount of money, you too, yes, can become queen. Let me get this straight. Or a king. Hold on, let me fix this for you guys here. Let me see if I can get this. Don't give me a hard time. Give me a hard time here. Yes. Hey, screen learning. If you can afford the price, you can pay to be cheap. Yes, yes. You hit it on the money. Yeah, it's all about money for Africans. And the whole thing is, it's not a bad thing because they're getting paid, they're getting money. But the bad thing on the bad thing on the part of the foreigners that go over there for that is they'll talk all this mess about Africa, the people, mistreat the people, say bad things, be racist, but still they need our stuff, our culture, our ways. They need all this stuff to make them feel important. Hold on a second. I'm sorry, I'm talking loud. But yet they need us to make them feel important. Um, they need all our culture. See, this is evident right here. This is proof. Um, they'll go pay for something that they will tell us is not a good thing, but yet they take it. You see, they take it and they want it. And they've always done this. They've always done this. But the whole thing is, what our people don't understand is, for one thing, they don't understand themselves. Once you can understand yourself, you can understand why a that are in people that are in poverty, you can sympathize with them. They're in poverty just like we're in poverty. So they're gonna come up with tricky ways to get their money. And if people feel like they need outside people to make them feel important, they're gonna make money off of that, because they know that they're just making money off their powers that they have. And that's the power to make somebody feel legitimate. When people promote the Back to Africa movement, they include a travel package and merchandise store. This is equal to Black Lives marketing. Exactly. Exactly. I agree wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. You're so right. And it's if you want to come up and speak more on that, you can. Let me share my thing with you. Feel free, because the whole thing is, we as Black people should never be upset at things like this, and we should try to uh, we should think about it deeply before we do get upset, because it's stupid on the part of this Chinese man to want to be a chief of a Black village. It's not that he can do anything. He can't take over the village. Nobody's going to allow that. People are smarter than that. All he can do is pay them the money and get a fictitious feeling of importance. But he's not important. Only the money that he gave to the people was important. He can't he can't take his he can't take his title back to China with him. He can't take anything these people do over there. They can't take it back to China. That's the thing. And the sun doesn't love them. If they stay too long, they get cancer. I talked about I talked about the island of Maat, and it's ruled by the French. But the funny thing about it, the people live like they're in heaven. The people live in balance and love. Hold on. Feel free to come on up if you want. But yeah, there's no threat. There's never a threat about these people. Um, we should never feel one because actually the island of Ma'at, they're balanced people. I did a video on it. They're living in balance, and they have a balanced, well balanced culture over there. Relationships are balanced. Um, Everything is balanced, and it's a youthful people over there, very youthful. And the thing about it, though, the thing about the island of Ma'at is okay, great. The thing about the island of Ma'at is that it's so hot that the Europeans have to go back to France. So it's a period where they're not there. They're rarely there. And then there's a period when they're there because they did take control of this particular island, which is part of Africa, but it's off the coast there. But it's beautiful, and they got a beautiful culture. So, that's another place you might want to go to live. And, if you want to live in Ma'at. I talked about the island, and I don't know much about how you would go about. I'm sure you can fly to it because, I mean, look at the Europeans, they fly back and forth to it. But it's a lot of Black folks there. It's all Black people, but they have a tight knit village like relationship, and they have code of conduct, and they have relationship balance over there, and they have certain things that if you really want to get out of this crazy nonsense, you could go there because the Europeans can't really stand to be on that island because of the heat. They said it's extremely hot in that area. So do your research, family, on the island. It's supposed to be, but don't believe the hype. That's what I'd say. Don't believe the hype. These people are no threat. Pretty soon, what's going to happen is, they are going to have to go their way, and they won't be, like they said, the God is going to come, but it's going to put them to shame. Just like the story of Adam and Eve. When God came, they had to be put out of the garden. God meaning the sun. We're getting closer to the sun. The closer we get to the sun, the better. The better. And I was trying to show some pictures of some other foreigners who were made queen. Because they do that. They do that very often. Hey, welcome.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here. Do you have anything more to say on this topic about how this is just one proof of how they need us to make them feel important, but they pretty much stolen our whole cultures throughout everything. Anything we ever did on this planet, they took it for themselves to make them feel important. So they can, it's a high chance that today they need us. They still need us to make them feel that way. And the election is proof number one. Two, as that should be number one, but it's evident. It's all evident that they need us.
Yeah, I agree. Throughout history, somebody's always had to do the work. Someone's always had to kind of carry the load, even if we're, let's say, cleaning houses or taking care of children, working the fields, or if we're taking care of animals. They've always needed someone to do work. And we, as Black people, historically have always been the mule of America, and even in Africa and the countries in the continent of Africa, just other groups coming in
Mm-hmm.
and seeking African help, African assistance to do things, just shows that there is always someone needed to do work. And I think seeing this picture of them holding an Asian man as on the shoulders, and there's a caption about him being the chief. People should, I agree with you, people should do more research in it
Mm-hmm.
and to understand more of the context, because people will see the picture and just will be like, oh, well, Africans are dominated or black people are dominated. Look who they have as their chief and this and that. And when they do the research and look more into it, they somewhat, sometimes there could be more than one chief, or there could be different echelons of it, to where the actual person who's over the entire village could have a title, and the title that the Asian man is given is a lesser title or an honorary title, because
Mm-hmm.
he could just be a guest. There's been,
Exactly.
there could be situations where, like when I went to Afghanistan, we went into a village and we were just guests, and
Mm-hmm.
as guests, we were given uh, somewhat of an honorary status. We were shown compassion. We
Mm-hmm.
were allowed to eat first. They fed us. They prepared meals because we were the guests. But if someone was there taking pictures, you would think, oh well, these soldiers, they're now dominating this village. When you can't go off of a picture, you can't necessarily go off of a video. The best thing that we could do is to research that culture and get a background on how they do things in Ghana, because a chief in our language that we speak, even though we think of a chief as being the top person, to them, chief may be something else. It may just be chief of like 6 or 7 people, but then
Mm-hmm.
the person who's over the chief is like something else. So we definitely want to have that context, because back in a long time ago, before I really researched medieval times, for example, I
Mm-hmm.
thought a king or a queen was like just the top thing you could be,
Mm-hmm.
but a collection of kings or a collection of kingdoms is an empire. So the
Right.
emperor is the one on top. So
Mm-hmm.
without knowing that, just me hearing the word king and queen, I'm thinking they're the top notch or top thing, but there's a level above. There's always a level above until you get to a point where um, the entity above is something that's like spiritual or a god. There's always going to be something that's greater than people. So if we don't get that context, then we end up people, in my opinion, having confirmation bias and seeing what they want to see, and then they're commenting, and they really just believe what they're saying. They just need something to kind of push their narrative or push their agenda.
Yeah, we do the same thing over here, and we do it for money. We will uplift, like there's black people now, and uplifting the Republicans. See, I'm not into politics, so I'm neither Republican or Democrat. I throw all that junk because they stole so much, and I've woken in 2013. I could say legitimate. I was legitimately awoke. So it took a while, but I've awoken to the fact that, with anger, of course, that I've been living in an illusion. All has been built, constructs have been built around my existence, overlapping my existence. So this is why, out of rage, I refuse to take part in a lot of things, especially politics. So I see them do stuff like this, and it's like I see their foolishness. I see their foolishness in what they do. But let me shout out to Lishana, and she said that they still come to us, South America, for knowledge. So it will be obvious that they need our approval and attention. I wholeheartedly agree with that. They go to countries that they consider that they have made insignificant financially, and they still want they search for our they search out spirituality, which they cannot ever connect to. But they try to connect through race mixing. They try to become us by wiping our identities from us, and then, you know, engaging in it and making like it's something that belonged to them, even though they've been here a very short period of time. And much of our stuff, it goes way, 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 way ancient of ancient times. So they try to, you know, make themselves more important than us, like we never exist. And I remember being in school, and I always wondered, well, where's the black people? And now those questions have been answered, that we've been here all that time. They just built a world over top of our world for them to exist, and they destroyed our world. This is how wicked.
Yeah, definitely. Because just looking at history books, if you go just by the books that people have written, it's only going to tell the side of the story that they want to tell, which is known as pigeonholing, where they only tell bits and pieces, or they may change out who actually invented something, who actually discovered something. And it's very sad, because it kind of is the same way with the Bible, but I don't want to get into that. And that we definitely have to do the research and be more open-minded to the fact that a lot of books that are written may be false, misleading, or may not tell the whole picture. And you're right, we've been around for the whole time. It's just that we may not have been given the credit due to, you know, being oppressed, or to not being the writer of a book, or that the truth is written in a language we don't understand and can't read. So you got that as well. It's a lot that goes into it, especially if we only look at surface level. And that's why it's important to create history museums, write books, you know, just to try to just transcribe what we find out from history, so that that stuff is not lost. Even creating statues, monuments. We definitely want to give honor to those in the past by honoring them through those means, and use that as motivation to move forward, instead of complaining about how things have been or how things were.
Exactly. Like I said, we do this ourselves here in America by uplifting these key presidents, and they're always going to come from the line of whiteness. Obama came from white woman, so he didn't care about throwing dirt on us, and he did something that was against our nature and promoted a sexual uh, uh, deviant actions that went against our nature and didn't do anything to help our people at all. He had the opportunity to do that, but he showed what his loyalty was. And unfortunately, a lot of our young black men and women out here are still going to lift up whiteism, and they're still going to produce these Obamas and many other people that look like us. But throughout our history, they have always, and I know you didn't want to touch on the Bible, but I let you know I did a video on Genesis, but it's under this is under duality, this dimension that we exist in, because I felt like it was connected to duality, and where we, and I wanted our people to understand where we're at today, just where we're at. I may not be able to articulate clearly to give them a great picture, but I did partial of and tried to explain it to the best of my ability about Genesis and where we started and where they started. Because like you said, the consciousness is it starts in Genesis. You can see the difference between our consciousness, which we were the first here, and then Adam and Eve were the second creation, which was a consciousness. And their minds was, their God mind was put someone in our garden and make them till the land and don't let them know any information, knowledge. So that's what they did to us. And these people went along and did conquering of the lands all through the book. And the lands that they conquered was the empire of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And it spread out further than just that desert where the pyramids are. It goes further than just where the pyramids were. And
the reason why I didn't really want to mention the Bible, I didn't want to derail the conversation because the Bible is oppressive, and I think it's a great book. And when you really just sit down and go through, like you said, Genesis, the rest of the Bible is really about getting to the garden and what the garden symbolized.
Exactly.
Just the fact that Adam and Eve, they were children. They were put in this garden. They weren't given anything except for rules. They weren't educated. God wanted to keep them ignorant. And the fact that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was put in the garden with the tree of life, and they were told to eat from everything except for what could give them knowledge, just shows that the powers that be, which you could say, let's say if you say white supremacy, if you equate God to being white supremacy, or equate God to being government, or God just to being oppressor, he wanted to keep Adam and Eve ignorant. And once Eve and Adam ate from the tree, their eyes were opened. Their sixth chakra was opened. And that's when they started to understand that they were nude, and they just started to be able to have the ability to understand. And God banished them from the garden because as he was breaking the fourth wall, speaking to the reader, he was saying that if they eat from the tree of life, they'll be just like us.
Well, what happened was it made them more carnal because they're different. That's the white man's thing, because it made them more carnal. And then when you see who God is the sun. It ran them out of Eden. Eden was Africa, was the closer to the equator. So they became carnal, and how you know they became carnal? It did no good for them to eat of because they ate of the fruit of the tree. They ate of something that was physical, right? It wasn't. It's physical. It's the second. It's the it's a part of the original creation. So they didn't eat nothing that was spiritual. They ate something that was physical. And when they ate that, it did no good for them, because you can see they went on to become murderers, liars, and stealers. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get it? When you look at the first chapter of the book, it talks about us, our consciousness. We have a free consciousness. We didn't put anybody in the garden. In our minds, when we decided to manifest ourselves, we didn't picture anybody in the garden. We pictured our own will and power. That was will and power that you saw in chapter 1 of Genesis. Chapter 2, you saw a people who were bounded to the earth and could not rise. And what they did was, their mind said, we're prisoners, and we need somebody else's will and power to help us to survive. And that's what they did. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
And that's what I was explaining in my 2 videos. It took me 2 days. I did it one Saturday, and then another following Saturday, I did that video. And I had help, though. I got some other video YouTubers who had great information and great research, and I used their videos. a little portion of their videos to help explain how, because we would have been on this one thing for weeks. Let's just say that, maybe a month. And I have a lot of other things I like to hit on, and I can't just spend time on one thing. You know what I'm saying? So
I do.
yeah, I'm one of those YouTubers who it's just so much in me to get out, and it's like a short period of time, and I just can't stay on one subject, and I can't, because I know some things. I should go in depth, but it's not a lot of time to go in depth. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Especially with our people here in America. Fix the password. Okay, go ahead and talk. I'll be
Yes. I think this is Yashana. I know you just came on the panel. Hi, I'm CK. Nice to meet you. If you wanted to say anything about what you heard, so Lightbearer gets back, go ahead, or we can get back to the subject of the Asian man being made chief in Ghana.
I'm here. I can hear you.
Oh, there's somebody else came on the panel. I didn't know if they wanted to say
Yeah,
anything.
Yashana, are you all right? Can you hear us? Oh, did I not put her up? Oh, let me move her and put
Yes,
her back.
thank you. Thank you.
Can you hear? We can hardly hear you.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it might.
Yes.
Can you hear her?
I don't think she's saying anything.
Yeah, go ahead, Yashanda. Hey, Purple 77. Purple Lover 77. Go ahead.
Oh yes, I just joined the chat, so I missed the news about the Chinese man, and I think it's like a repetitive thing for Africa, because in the past they have been doing this with Caucasians, and I just think it's a stubborn way of not learning from the past. So I think those who want to be awake will be awakened, and those who want to, they will keep, and they will put the that they are. So those people, they are just a lost case, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, go. Hold on. Let me get my daughter. I wanted to say something, but she's.
Yeah, it's going
My
back
voice
to
coming over, or is something wrong?
oh, Lightbearer just put it on mute because she has some stuff going on in her background.
I'm from Suriname, South America, so it takes some time before the voice comes over.
Oh, say again. I couldn't hear you.
I don't hear anyone.
I'm back. Well, how I know, like I said, my husband is Ghanaian, so he doesn't. He says with anybody can pay. You come over there, you pay money, they'll make you anything you want to be, pretty much. I've seen black actresses, go over and get high labels, high titles. I think Queen Latifah, they made her queen of a village, and then
Is the camera on mute then?
huh?
Yeah, I know Naomi Campbell. She went and got a title. Yeah, you could buy a title. So I think we definitely should look at the full story and the history of the village or the area to see how they do things, because it could be equivalent to like going to Burger King. You buy one of their little Burger King meals for like a child or adult or whatever. They give you a crown, and you might see a picture of somebody with a Burger King crown, and you're thinking, oh, this person is now king of burgers, when in fact it's just something associated with a restaurant. So I do believe that what people do is they find stories like this, and they already have a confirmation bias, and they affirm that bias by attaching what they want to believe about the story, and they run with it, and they may even weaponize it or whatever. So
Yes, exactly.
and I agree with Purple Lava 77 saying the Bible is a tool like any other. It's how you choose to use it. I agree with that.
But we can't really use the power from the Bible anymore because it is weakened. I can tell you, I use my husband and his priest from Ghana. You know, I was having some very turbulent times, and I was in a position where, you know, it was uncomfortable, and I was around these people that were just torturing me, right? So I needed to put in some work. So I use Psalms, of course, the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms is, they even got books on Amazon about the book of Psalms. So it's used so much. You can use the powers and the energies so much. I did everything they told me to do, and I meditated on the book. It worked, but it worked for a short period of time. It wasn't anything strong. So, you know, I would say the best magic is to make up and create for ourselves and not use something that somebody gives to everybody, you know, and things that everybody knows about. We have to go do these rituals. We think about doing our ancient rituals. We are the ritual. We are the power. So we got to take and create something new in our minds. Like I created one ritual after they showed me, you know, what a ritual was, and I learned more online from other people. And I took an old ritual, but I did something different with it, something new, you know, and that's what we have to be creative. That's when our creativity comes in. It says nothing new under the sun, nothing new under the sun with them. And there's something else I learned. There's something else I've learned. Hold on. This person wants on too. And I can't, let me see if I can move this. I can't move that. It's just, this thing is in my way to get them on. Okay, here we go. This is very important here. Okay, I got you. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Um, I totally agree with what you're saying for you, right there. But the powerful thing about your mind is that you get to have whatever it is that you truly believe. For you, that put in work. For me, it did because our belief systems about it is way different.
Yeah.
So it was extremely powerful to me. It actually led me on the path to my spiritual growth that I wound up having because it gave me the tools to ask the right questions that I needed to be asking of my spirit to figure out things that were true for me. And it's kind of funny because everything around me right now is
Mm-hmm.
going back to the question of who do you say that I am? Even the show Lovecraft wound up dealing with the I amness of us, the awareness of us. And awareness creates reality. So different tools are going to affect people different ways because of their perspective and their belief about those tools. Um, one of my mentors, Neville Goddard, stated that he was watching people believe in these little idols, these little trinkets, and he was like, the results that they were getting, like one person was saved, another person wound up being saved, but they were maimed. And he was like, my God, he was like, they're not understanding that the object that they were using was just a tool for their belief to
Exactly.
use to get them in line with what it is that they were truly saying and wanting. And
Mm-hmm.
when you made the statement that you just made, it took me back to the story that Lovecraft did last night, where the character Hippolyta thought she was being held captive And her quote unquote captor kept on telling her, "You're free." And then you get to see her process of recognizing that what she considered holding her, it was only herself that was holding her. Because as
Exactly.
soon as she understood, changed her awareness, she was able to go back and forth through time. And she was able to choose who Hippolyta was. Because up until that point, Hippolyta was shrinking herself. She really wasn't fully embracing who she was. And because she did not do that, it led her to wind up being angry and resentful. And she really made a statement to her husband who passed in the show, but in this version of reality that she went to, he was very much alive. And she told him, you know, I've always been shrinking my whole life, and I thought you saw me and saw how big I wanted to be, but you condoned me shrinking because it was benefiting you for me to shrink. But at the same time, from my belief system, the whole reason why he was so content to let her shrink is because he had to reflect on the outside what she was doing to herself on the inside to perpetuate her growth, to get her to move beyond the image that she had attached herself to. And once she did that, she was able to not only take herself to the next reality, she also took him with her. And she got to experience a whole different dynamic in the relationship in that reality because as above, so below, as within, so without. She got to
Exactly.
see what that looked like. And she kept going through these different things, and people don't understand the true power of the naming ritual that Adam was doing in the Bible. He named something. That's an extremely powerful act of creation. That's why naming children should not be taken lightly because you're having an impact on that child's path by what you choose to name it. So it's a powerful thing, especially in Native American culture. We recognize the power of naming things and how important a name truly is, which is why there's a lot of rituals and stuff that goes into
Is there
the
something wrong
name.
with the audio?
I don't know what's going on with my audio. Is it like a backlash or what?
Yeah, background noise and that. But I mean,
Well, that's a little
you
bit, but
sound good to
oh,
me. You sound,
It's something playing in the
yeah, you sound,
background, like a children's melody or something.
yeah, that was a little bit show playing.
oh, okay.
I apologize for
Yeah,
that.
the music is making it hard to understand what you're saying. That's what they're saying because of the background music that your mic is picking up both what you're saying and what's in your background. So it's
Hold
hard to
on, let me
make out
try
what you're
this.
saying.
1 second. Let's see. Ah, sorry about that.
Oh no, that's fine.
Oh,
I totally understand. I got a little one.
is this better now for you guys? Is this better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, to me it
Okay.
is.
Okay. What I was saying is that I've been on this journey this week. My therapist asked me to do a homework where I talk about my belief system and how that belief system has impacted my decisions and my relationships in my life. To go through all of my old belief system, and then after I do that, I'm to create a new belief system for us to implement and to actually have me to start applying. So all of this was relating to that because in defining who she say who she is, she's really defining her belief system and how she's going to show up in the world to not only herself but to other people. So that whole storyline was extremely impactful for me. And I said all that to say that every day we are clearly having that question that Jesus Christ asked Peter, who do you say that I am? Because whoever you say that I am is, the awareness that it's you is, that's the reality that you're going to experience. That was the whole point of the parable about the servants with the talents. No, at no time was their belief system threatened. The master responded to them according to their belief system about that master. So they got exactly what they believed. And that's because we get exactly what we believe, good, bad, or indifferent. Whatever it is that we truly believe in our core, it's what we're going to experience.
That's because the mind is powerful. The mind is the most powerful thing we have.
That's the blessing and the curse of awareness, because you get to decide what you say.
How you, I believe for we create our heaven and our hell. Unfortunately for us, as Black people, they try to build a construct around us to tell us what our reality is, but it's up to us to say, no, that is not our reality. This is my reality. You can have your reality. It's all, no one controls this. It's way I no one controls this for us. We should be beyond allowing them to control.
But that's what I loved about that episode, because when she goes to one of the realities, she's in a fight scene. And in the fight scene, the woman states to them, you're here because you did not accept what other people said about you. You're here because you believed something different. And she talks about how she was going to strip away all the false beliefs that they had by beating it out of them. And it was really a powerful scene. I really cannot do the show justice in the way I'm describing things.
Oh yeah.
But the scene was extremely powerful because it was basically the subconscious mind stepping forward and having this conversation with people through the show and telling them, you don't have to accept just anything coming at you. You're free. You get to choose what it is that you're going to experience, what it is that you choose to believe. And you get to have an impact on your reality by how you choose to see yourself and see the world. So it was really a profound and powerful episode, because everything in it was relating to exactly the work that I was doing at the moment. And I was like, wow, to see the spirit show up in a TV show just to give the message to those who are ready to receive it.
Exactly.
It was powerful.
Yeah, the answer is always going to be where you can see it, where you can hear it, where you can smell it, where you can taste it. You can know it. At our level, it's going to come to us in very different ways. It can come to us, definitely within ourselves, we can hear that first voice, but not only the higher self, but it can be displayed on the billboard, and that's our answer. You know what I'm saying?
My spirit has to be
aware. We just have to be aware. It's called being aware and in tune with how it's going to be communicating with us. If we're already living in spiritual, awareness, then we're gonna expect it. We're gonna see it. And we're not gonna, and that's what happens when you caught it. You always look.
Yeah, you really will. Because a lot of what people are saying about this situation is purely their perspective, because anything that can be seen can be changed in an instant.
Exactly. It's not
But you have
real. We're living in an illusion. So
to.
constructs, we have to be aware of that there is people that don't have what we have that want that willing power. So they use us to get that willing power. You know?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm showing in this picture. That's it's a lot of proof over here in America how they need us to use us
Yeah.
to lift
But
them. Here in
in
America.
order for a master servant relationship to exist, both have to be agreed in that situation. As long
Exactly.
as one is not agreed in that, it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to work.
It's not.
A lot of people, I always tell people, if you don't take your power and use it, somebody else will take yours and use it against you. So it's a matter of knowing your divinity, recognizing it, and you deciding what that means for you, not allowing anything outside of yourself to decide what that means for you. Because even the Bible tells you to look within, not to look outside of you to find answers. You're constantly told to go within.
Mm-hmm.
And even Jesus said when he come back, before he came back or whatever, that people were going to be going here, there, and everywhere looking for him. And he told them to not go because, in order for Jesus to come back, he has to have love. And if you truly understand what that mystery really was, you already know he hasn't left you in the first place. Because
Exactly. It's within us. We have that.
mm-hmm,
What they call what they try to take. They take everything out of us and put it in a physical form.
mm-hmm,
Laws that are within us as Black people, we made it into physical form because we were turning into we were losing our God powers by the planet leaving the
mm-hmm.
sun, and that was our energy. That was our energy that we needed, and we became further from the sun, further from the laws that were within us, connected with that. We became carnal. So before we became carnal, we laid out our laws, that our standards within ourselves, out on stone,
Mm-hmm.
on walls, and then as it happened, of course, we know they took from those laws what they wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and basically made a prison place here for us, instead of because we fell into this weakness. So it's not.
But it really wasn't a prison that they made for us. It was a prison that we made for ourselves.
Well,
We
we didn't really make
fell
it.
down into it
We didn't really make
because
it. It was naturally a natural occurrence, that happened. So it's just an experience that we have to experience now.
it's one of the states that we chose to enter into. Everybody did not wind up in the same state that we wound up in.
Right.
You have to resonate with the frequency in order to enter into that state.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it does wind up being self-inflicted because as long as you're resonating with that frequency, until you decide to do something different,
Exactly.
that's going to be the experience that you're having. That's what I meant by that.
Yeah, you know what? You just now said the same story that you said, and it involved us too. Like that was the
Yeah,
knowledge that
it has to be
you brought it
agreement.
around to me. When the girl was shrinking, her husband knew what the problem was. He just didn't tell her about the
Mm-hmm.
physical part, but he knew about the inner part. So we just now experienced that with
Mm-hmm.
brought it around about, yes, it is our fault. Yeah. You see how
which
that
is
works?
yeah,
Yeah.
which is that was the one lesson that the disciples complained about the most in the Bible was that nothing shows up in your life by accident. You are bringing it to you. You are creating it for yourself to experience. For whatever reason you're choosing to have that experience, it's coming from within you. It's not on the outside of you that things are happening
Hmm.
to you. It's coming from you.
From inside. And a lot of times we don't notice those things. We
Mhm.
don't know how to connect it to the things that is really going on, what's really
That's because we've
because
been
you
so
always gotta
conditioned to
connect
see
it to
everything on the outside of ourselves, to give our
right.
power over to something else. When God is
Exactly.
saying, you have to move and act like I do, God is
Mhm.
not confused about what he does or his creations.
Exactly.
And he's telling us to do the exact same thing, that we have the choice to create the reality. Because in that show, she was
Mhm.
talking about, when I was telling you about the lady that was in charge of training Hippolyta, she was
Mhm.
talking about how they gave us a false idea of what freedom was. They,
Mhm.
she was like, they were all, you're free to, be to cook for them. You're free to do. She named all the different type of illusions that we give ourselves, and there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with entering into those states. But if you're going to enter into a state, let it be your freedom that does it.
Mhm. Exactly.
You make the choice to enter into the state instead of allowing yourself to live in a reactionary life where you're not actively creating what you're experiencing.
Mhm.
Because up until that point, Hippolyta really was, she was really not actively creating what she was experiencing. Everything was pretty much her allowing things happen to her because she was afraid of her own power.
Hmm. Let's look at it this way. Maybe the
Hmm.
Africans do know more than what we know. Maybe they're playing. They're doing their part in this movie that we live in. A lot of people say that our reality is what we our experience, and like you said, it was a contract or a decision that we made. So we need to play our part. So they're playing their part, and they understand that. They understand
Well,
that we fell into a lower cardinal, and we have to play this cardinal part. But the whole thing is, we're dealing with these people that they spread it on to a lot of our people over here because I just said a lot of our people go over there and they become queens and kings of villages as
well,
well. It's
the
not
whole
put
thing
out
of
there
it,
yet. This Chinese man's been put out. Go
the
ahead.
whole thing of it is that we, the same way that we lay down our power, we can pick it back up again at any time. It
I agree.
wasn't. We're not afraid of going into what we call the quote unquote lower state.
Mm-hmm.
This is really not a lower state in the fact that you get to choose what you're experiencing. In the higher
Exactly.
states, you don't have the free will that you have in this realm. You can literally create or and destroy whatever you're creating. The same way you can create, you can uncreate. And that's why a lot of other entities want to drop down into this realm because of the ability to be able to create
Exactly.
and to be able
Creativity
to
is here.
do the very thing that we take for granted. This can either be your heaven or hell, but you get to decide which one it's going to be. You're the God.
Exactly.
You're the God sitting on the throne of your own kingdom. Now, what you choose to do with that kingdom, it's completely up to you. You can either create heaven or hell. It all just depends on what it is that you're wanting to experience.
Exactly.
So this is extremely powerful. And like for me to see what's happening in the world
Mm-hmm.
doesn't bother me because I'm not of this world, so I'm not worried about what people who are not understanding their own power is seeing.
Exactly.
Because I also believe in the completed work that people will wake up when their time comes to wake up and
Exactly.
when they choose to. And I'm okay with respecting other people's free will and the choices to experience the experiences that they choose to have. And some of them are not that great.
Exactly. I'm right there with you. I feel that same way. And I just like um you know, I think it's important though, those of us like that were in the situation that I was in and didn't really have that place to go to communicate with people who have the same experiences. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because when
Oh,
I was raped
mm-hmm.
as a young child,
Mm-hmm.
that rape came about because of self hatred I had towards myself. So it had to be expressed in physical form because it was definitely within my mental and within my body. So it had to be expressed outward because that's what I was believing about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to condone the behavior of the person that did that to me, but it's to recognize that that situation would not have been a part of my experience had I not chosen it by what I was resonating with,
Mm-hmm.
had I not had the self hatred. It was actually a gift to get me to take a look at the self hatred before it completely destroyed my life.
Right.
So that was a gift. But to other people on the outside looking at it, it would look evil, but it really wasn't evil. It was a blessing because without that experience at that time,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have started the path onto self love because I really had a strong hatred towards myself because of how hard things had been for me entering into this reality.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was too young to understand just how powerful I really was and how I was impacting my own reality with what I was thinking and saying on the inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really a gift to me to keep me from being on that same self hatred path and having it be destructive in my life. And it has been destructive to a certain extent, but the destruction was necessary for me to have the growth that I needed for me to create something different. I had to destroy my previous creation, and that's not always fun. It's not always a fun process.
Hold on a second. I'll be right back.
Not fun. Stop.
I'm back. Go ahead. Just
Welcome back,
thank you. These children.
and thank you for having this topic. Thank you so much for having this topic because it's definitely helping me to get a better understanding of my own belief systems and how they have impacted my life and my relationships.
Oh
To,
yes.
to actually do the homework that I was assigned to do, this has been
Well, I'm glad.
extremely powerful.
I'm glad I've been able to help because I love helping people. It's just, I think it's my nature. I think sometimes, when you reflect on yourself or when you examine yourself, you know exactly what your issue is. And my issue is I love to help people, and that's not really an issue per se. It can be, but
As long as you keep it in balance and you also take time to love yourself, because
yeah,
it's like Master Fumi said, when you are good to yourself, you will be good to others.
yeah, it's that balance that you need.
Hmm.
We're all put here for a reason, and it's not to just be put in a little shell by ourselves or an oasis by ourselves, but it's to connect, you know, and help other people. That's the ability, you know what I'm saying? And I'm so
Yeah,
glad that I've been able to help some people, you know.
and that was the other gift of me being like this, because I've been through that experience. I can help others,
Hmm. Exactly, exactly. You
so
have to
it's more of a blessing than a curse. It was for me. I
hmm.
see so many things, good things that came from it, than way more than I see bad.
Like sometimes we think our purpose is built off of our physical existence only. No,
Mhm.
sometimes we got to connect the two, our physical and our spiritual, and know what we were here for. Um, I
Yeah,
know it's much more than what I do, but this is the best I can do at the time. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely do.
And sometimes we have to take little by little what we can do, and then grow from that eventually.
Yeah, because
Make a start.
you need to integrate the physical, the spiritual, and mental.
Mhm.
Because you're a multi-dimensional being, you have to honor all aspects of that. Your humanity, your just the physicalness of this reality.
Exactly.
There's a lot of blessings that each part of yourself offer you,
Mhm.
and that can even assist in your awakening. Even the physical can play its own part in doing that as well.
Mhm. Exactly.
Because, like, for example, breath work. Breath work helps a lot with clearing the mind, where you can even get into a nice higher altered state just by breathing alone, which is a part of the physical, and it's also considered spirit. The breath is considered spirit.
Mhm.
It's
Exactly.
a lot of beauty in all of it. To me, I just see the beauty of it all.
Exactly.
And it
And
goes
then
back to, I'm sorry.
that's why, I think it's important that we definitely look deep into things before we see a picture like this picture, and
Hmm.
we allow ourselves to be imprisoned in a thought, only one thought, when it's many ideas behind this picture. It may not be true what we thinking, so we gotta look at it different ways. I mean,
Well,
to think
here's the thing.
that,
It actually will be true
uh-huh,
to what you're
huh,
thinking. That's the danger of it. Whatever you choose to say about that picture is really revealing more about your own consciousness than what the picture, quote
exactly.
unquote, actually represents.
Exactly, exactly. That's why I said we're like you said, we're in a place where we have creativity and we have freedom of the mind. So we need to unlock our minds for being seeing things one way to
Hmm.
seeing it a different way as well. Not just taking on first thought of, oh, they're making this Chinese man a chief, he's gonna have power.
Hmm.
No, it may not just be that, because we have to think about it. I've heard, like I said, I've heard Black women going over and getting titles as well. But you know what? Titles come with a price over there, because then people live in poverty. So
Hmm.
you're gonna have to pay the people a pretty penny for them to put you on their backs and to give you to boost your ego up. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You
But
know, it's just that's reality. We have to look at it from reality's eyes. You think somebody that's living in poverty is going to put you on their back and make you here you are, got all
no,
this
you actually have
money.
to look at it through imagination eyes, because whatever
Exactly.
is imagined is what's coming.
Exactly.
So you have to be careful about vain imaginations.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real reality, because everything, like the God said, everything was once only imagined.
Right.
So your imagination creates reality, and with knowing that, you have to be mindful of what are you actually choosing to imagine and create, because that's
Is
what's going up in your world.
And that was the book. That was the book of Genesis. It had one. The first chapter was one people's group of people's consciousness, and the second chapter, the other chapter with Adam and Eve, was another group of people's consciousness. Now, their consciousness says that they were going to have restrictions and control, and we're going to need someone to till the ground to grow their food for them. They were it was needing somebody. It was going to need dependence upon something. It was going to be, it was created to be stuck here in this reality. That was Adam and Eve's consciousness. But the other first creation consciousness, they said they had free reign of everything. They didn't have no constructs, no constrictions on their existence.
Now you get to truly understand what Paul was talking about. Who told you to go back and pick up your chains? Because once your awareness has been made free, then why would you go back and put limitations on that awareness?
Exactly. We have to be mindful of our minds. What we're thinking.
Yeah, because that's your throne room. And just because a thought wanders doesn't mean that you should allow it to have free range in your room.
Exactly.
Don't allow just any old thing to stay in there rent free. And the best thing you can do is to just be actively meditating, which is just to allow those thoughts to pass without attachment. Because as long as you're not attaching yourself to it, you will not get stuck in that state of being. It's when you choose to identify with the thought that it becomes a creation. As long as you're not saying, hey, that's me, then it won't be you. Because just like when everybody else was getting sick around me, because I did not identify myself with sickness, I wasn't getting sick. But the minute I chose to make that my identity, then of course I was going to have what that identity brings me. So it's very important. Like she kept telling Hippolyta, name it. Name who you are. Because wherever you're naming yourself, that's what you're going to experience.
Exactly. It's funny how we don't really have identities as Black people in America.
But that's actually the most powerful thing, because as long as you're not attached to identity, then you're not limited by that identity.
Exactly. And Blackness is not an identity. But people want us to take on so many other identities like being a Moor. I'm like, excuse my language. I do not want to be put in a box. I don't want to be constricted. Now, and if I could be something that is not an identity, and to me, Blackness is not an identity. You know, I know it's an adjective, it's a description, it's a color, an adjective. You know, I'm fine with it because I'm not attached to it.
It's really
I'm not attached to it, but I know I do love the darkness, and what I love about the dark is that not that because it hides me, but because it feels comfortable, and that's where your imagination can start. That's where you start. It's not just like a white piece of paper you can draw on. That's a physical activity, but in my imagination, I can create a world. I can take from the dark and I can make light.
But that's all darkness is untapped possibilities, untapped potential.
Exactly.
Because even the light comes from the darkness. And it should never be a space where you're scared of your own untapped potential.
Exactly.
Because it's just limited possibilities that you have
Mm-hmm.
at your command to do whatever it is that you want. And that's
Exactly.
the true essence of godhood, is the
Mm-hmm.
ability to be able to create and destroy anything that you want.
Mm-hmm. And everything's connected. So we haven't
Hmm.
really gone off the subject at all, you know.
Uh-uh.
And then and even if we talk about the Bible, you know, I know Mr. Screen was saying that he was afraid to go off the topic, but I wanted to explain to him that it's all connected. Anything we talk about is going to all be one thing. It's going to be the same thing, and it's going to be something that's important to bring out because it's
Hmm.
all connected. This picture, one picture, is connected to a whole lot of other things, unbelievably. You know, we
Yeah,
just
because
come
like
right
Dr.
back to
Stephen
it.
said,
Mm-hmm.
there are certain things that are meant to be inter, intermarried to one another.
Exactly.
And he was like, as long as you have a patriarchy or a matriarchy, those things are out of balance because they weren't meant to be separate. They were meant to operate as one,
As
to work
one.
together, not to be isolated like it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not only using your masculine side of your mind, you're also using the feminine side of your mind. So
Exactly.
you, you don't want to limit your possibilities, your experiences by just sticking to just one side when there's so much more to be experienced
Across
by
the
both
street
sides,
without a function.
and makes you a more well-rounded entity than to just limit yourself to just the things in the light, because the things in the light came from the dark, and you need, in order to fully embrace the light, you have to fully embrace the dark. And there's nothing wrong with embracing all of you. A lot of people only want to embrace the shiny, cute little parts of themselves, not understanding that their growth and their healing is in the parts that are unseen that they really don't want to tap into. That's where your greatest power is in the unseen. And everything starts there, including yourself. You started in the darkness. Like Master Fundifi said, one of the most loving places you can be is in the dark, because when you were in your mother's room, that was dark. There was no light in your mother's room. So it's about just allowing ourselves to expand our awareness and see things from different points of view instead of just sticking to just one idea.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's critical. It's very important to us to be able to do that. Because sometimes we might be stuck on something, but hearing somebody else's point of view of our situation,
Mm-hmm.
it can bring a ray of sunshine into your gloom time because you may not know any way of solution, but that person comes along and clears your mind. You know,
Yeah,
you know what
because until
I'm.
she had brought that up, I had really never thought of the darkness at, as that until she brought
Mm-hmm.
that up. That gave
Right.
me a whole new perspective on it. And
Mm-hmm.
then I looked at a psychic named Kim Russo, and
Mm-hmm.
she has often said to her clients that the very thing that they thought was evil was really for their own good.
For their own good.
It
Yeah.
appeared evil to them because they weren't understanding why it was happening to them. But once she unpacked the whole reason why these hauntings occurred with them in the first place, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times it was really blessings in disguise as what they thought was evil things, but it was really their blessings coming to them. Because after they had these experiences, they grew and they changed for the better after having the experience. But at the time they were experiencing it, they saw it as evil because they weren't understanding why it was occurring to them.
Mm-hmm. it's like my experience that I talk about many times when I was in Hawaii in the car and minding my own business, and then this thing started pulling on my hair, touching my neck, trying to get my attention. Smells, growling sounds in the back of the car. Um, and then what finally got my attention was a man breathing in the seat beside me. And it just did a lot of different things to get my attention. And
Yeah,
it just took a lot. And it wasn't anything that I was fearing, because I was having such a great time. I was having probably one of the best times of my life, just listening to music, driving in Hawaii. Hawaii is a beautiful island. Pearl Harbor, going over the Pearl Harbor Bridge,
oh, cool. Oh,
and
I
all the
still want to go there.
yeah, it was gorgeous. It's beautifully unbelievable to me. It was just gorgeous. It was heaven. It was my heaven. I was actually enjoying it there.
And Gatlinburg, Tennessee, so far
Mhm.
has been my heaven to me because they had like the waterfalls and things, and I love waterfalls. So
Mhm.
in the mountains, it was very beautiful.
Mhm.
I'm still looking forward to having the experience of going to Hawaii. I really desire to go there and just to experience fellow Native people.
Oh yeah, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. You're not gonna. I mean, it's nothing like it there. I mean, actually, Africa was gorgeous to me too. It's just a lot of different, like the island
Hmm.
and Africa. I loved Africa. I can't wait to go back. That's a very spiritual place as well. Any place where our ancestors been is
Hmm.
high energy and spiritual. I went to
Yeah.
Panama, Mexico. All those places were beautiful and highly spiritual to me. Um, when I went to England, it was death, a lot of death there for me, a lot of sadness.
Hmm.
I was depressed. I wanted to go back to Africa because I left Africa, came back here to the States to get on the plane to go to England with my husband,
Hmm.
and it was winter time, and so I left the sunshine to go to the gloom, and it was snowing and cold, and I didn't, where I was in Africa, it was a lot of socialization, a lot of outdoors, a lot of sunshine, a lot of beauty. But then when I went to England, it was a lot of you stuck in the house, can't go nowhere, no socialization hardly. It was just sad, a sad ordeal. See what I'm saying? It's just like a disconnect. It was like it was so cold, but we did have an enjoyable time. And my husband, he showed me where he grew up. I got some good fish and chips, the best fish and chips. I love fish and chips. So that was probably the best part of it, is eating the fish and chips.
May I offer another perspective to you?
Hmm?
I said, may I offer another perspective to you?
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Um, for me, right now, this time of being inward is to go
Mm-hmm.
within and
Mm-hmm.
to actually experience the different realities. Because right now, you're allowing yourself to be attached to this one when there are so many others to experience. And you can go anywhere in your mind. You're not limited by anything. You can even interact with other people in your mind.
Exactly. You
So,
know, I've done that when I was younger, and I
mhm,
tried, and I actually, England, Europe has always been this place for me that I thought differently about when I was younger. But actually going to UK, I was sadness and gloom for the beginning part. But when my husband took me out, I started feeling more happier. I think that's what it was. My mind did change about it, And I knew that it was just winter. You know, it was too cold, and a lot of times that gets you down. But you do have to change your mind about how you see different seasons and different weathers, and not fall into that depression or that one set mind frame, that prison hold that you're talking about. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah, because it costs you nothing to create.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good practice for you to imagine different realities.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever you're imagining, that's what you're going to experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
whatever you're expecting is what you see too.
You just got to remind yourself that you're free.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, you know, people, a lot of us don't think about it like this, but when we buy a car and we end up driving it on the road, and we see other cars that look just like it.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that happening? We have to see why that's happening. The same thing happens when we see black and white men. We see black men dating white women, and we think that that's all over the place, and we end up seeing it every place because that's where our mind wants to go, and our mind ends up seeing that.
By that act of your focusing, you're changing the reality itself. You're saying, just like when you put information into a Google search to look up something, you don't get mad when you actually get the information that you're looking for. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm about ready to go. My computer's acting up again.
Oh, no problem. I thank you for the conversation and more clarity. So
yeah. Please join me next time on the 30th. I'm going to do a show on
I definitely will. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh boy, I guess it went off. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a show on the 30th on Annihilation, the movie. So please join me, family. Join me on the 30th around, let's say, I want to do it fairly early, probably 8 o'clock p.m. on the 30th of this month. And then we're going to go into our storytelling time. And it's going to be once a week. Halloween tales from the hood, basically. So with that said, family, true love, real peace, and the higher self within does so. Thank you, as wise men. Love you, sis. Bye.